the session 1, which is the sharing of digital assets amongst electricity, water and city gas distribution companies. And to chair this session, we have Mr. DD Verma, former chairman, UPERC. He'll be joining us shortly. Moderation will be done by Mr. Ajay Pradhan, chairman and CEO, C2S2. Sir, kindly please welcome on the stage. As our session speakers, we have Mr. Satyendra R. Pandey, member GERC, Mr. Kamal Verma, CEO, Water Business Group, Triveni Engineering and Industries Limited. Welcome, sir. Mr. Anshumali Bhusan, CEO, IGL Genesis Technologies Limited. Welcome, Mr. Anshumali. Ms. Tania Soul, President, Bluedesal. Welcome, Tania. And Mr. Kunal Gupta, Chairman, Rozgar.com. He will be joining us shortly.
Good morning, thank you and welcome to this session of digital asset management in utility sector. With me, our chairman, Mr. Barmaji, is the former Secretary General Rajya Sabha and the chairman of UP Electricity Regulatory Commission. He's just he has come and we are waiting for Mr. Pandey, also member Gujarat Electricity Regulatory Commission. I think we have a full panel here. We should start without further ado. Who? Yeah, he's here. So that's no problem. Thank you. So I think if you go back to why it is so much important now, the topic of integrating digital assets or utility together, I just give you a small instance. Some 35 years ago when I joined Planning Commission of India, 89 December, we were asked to look at providing better services, which is called urban basic services, without disturbing the people. You know, the urban slums are congested, no space for putting any utility for that matter. So that was a concern that time when they developed that, okay, we need to integrate each system to deliver to the citizens, various utility sector. Now, going back 89, then I came back and joined NIC as a scientist, system analyst, looking at some of these digital assets. So we created in India the first utility mapping. And that time it was honored. What is the utility mapping, what you are going to do? It's just digitizing the utilities like electricity, telephone, or gas lines, or water supply lines and all. We created, as a nodal center, Delhi Jal Board, in National Informatics Center, we created a digital utility mapping. Taking the aerial photograph, creating base maps, bringing all layers of information, be it is water supply, sewer lines, telephone, electricity. Of course, gas line was not there that point of time. The idea was basically to ensure that those utilities, the point was not integrating the services. Point was that, every road you go, there will be somebody is cutting and the road, because telephone line has to go or water line has to go. So it was ensuring that all utilities should be in one conduit, so that electricity, water and other utilities should also run. That was the whole idea. So that was we started and left government 1994, moved it to a private sector, started a company called RMS and all. So that was the story actually. Now going back to then my later life, I started with engineering consulting. And there my background is in water. From IT, I jumped into water. What we try to do, look at, if you look at water, the largest consumer of electricity is water. Look at the United States, 2% of the entire electricity is used for extracting water, groundwater itself. Be it is distribution, be it is purification of water, distribution, transformation, lifting water, extraction water. Even now that you have a treatment, sewage treatment, is a huge consumption. Almost 40 to 50% of water energy is used in single sector is actually water. Therefore, these two resources, energy and water, they have been very much reciprocally and mutually linked, and all in this sector. Therefore, it is very essential to look at how you need to integrate and manage, ensure that optimize and bring efficiency in system. That is the whole about. And that's be it is in agriculture sector where there's extraction happening in Punjab in large scale, free water, free electricity, and both are sufferer. Electricity used $1 billion in a month, in a year, Punjab, spent as a subsidy. Same as water, free water depleting the ground resources. So if you need to look at this is we called in our engineering is called nexus. So how to handle this? So unless you integrate these two systems, energy, water, you will not able to really bring any efficiency or help in achieving the sustainability. Same thing also, if you look at modern days, we're talking about carbon footprint, emissions and all. Unless you save water, you are not going to really bring any decarbonization or reducing the carbon efficiency or footprint. So these are the context we'd like to really look at. And therefore, all assets, be it is your IoT based information or your motors or your other SCADA systems which has been interlinked, they need to really work and play in tandem in real time basis. And that is what we call in modern days is called digital engineering. And this digital engineering is the way forward for integrating all the assets and all. So with this further ado, I'd like to just request our chairman to just give a few remarks and then we'll move to the speakers to start the session.
Thank you, Mr. Pradhan. Thank you, everybody, and all the panelists here and other people who are in the audience. Let me explain a little bit about my strange presence in this gathering today. I used to be the chairman of the UP Electricity Regulatory Commission, and from there I was drafted to be the Secretary General of the Rajya Sabha, so got divorced in that sense from the energy sector. And then I finished my tenure at the Rajya Sabha a few years back, but during this period I have been, of my own choice and of my own interest, been keeping in touch with the power sector. And after having finished my Rajya Sabha Secretary General tenure, I am here and I am very happy to be amongst people who are in this sector working, and also meeting some old faces as well as new faces. And also very happy because I have been associated as the chairman of the UP Electricity Regulatory Commission. I have been associated with the ISGF at that point of time for quite some time. And that time the focus used to be the smart metering of the ISGF. And this used to excite people because we are talking of digitization of a power utility sector where the T&D losses used to be very high, and we used to think that with this the prepaid meters and these smart meters, these problems would be solved. The outages used to take a very long time to get resolved. So all those things were there. But now it is, I'm very happy that now the things have changed and your expanse and your focus has also increased from not just the electricity, as Mr. Pradhan pointed out, some very important parameters like water and the city gas. And these are, I remember when I used to be as a bureaucrat, we used to hear the slogan of Roti Kapda Makan, which was the emphasis for the poor, be in the rural sector or in the urban sector. Now the emphasis is, as he said, these depleting resources of water and the resources of the electricity, which needs very optimal use of the electricity, the optimal use of the cooking gas, because the sources from which we are getting it are depleting. And therefore, now the focus has shifted to these parameters. And it is very, very important because now people realize that for the efficient and optimal use of resources, it is not just the sustainable, it is in fact three things I say. There is the sustainable generation of these services, products and services. Then sustainable delivery, almost zero waste delivery of the products and services which is required. And also the required is the sustainable use, to teach people how to use it most sustainably, because these sources are now depleted. And now we are facing a situation where we'll have the crisis, as it is being said, that the next world war would be fought on the issue of water. So these becomes very important, and I'm very happy to be associated with this session, because you are talking of an integration and a seamless digital integration, which is very important. And I really want to emphasize that for a consumer, it is very important that we have the seamless integration of these assets, not only from the point of making a very efficient delivery of your services and also for getting a good feedback and real-time feedback from the consumers and improving your systems without disrupting the system at all. So we need to have an integration of these digital assets in such a way that we have the scope for in-house improvement upon it without totally disrupting it. This used to happen earlier when we were working in the silos in the governments, in the private sector. But now I think with digitization, with the power of the IT, now that kind of integration is possible, and I will be very happy to listen to all the very knowledgeable and formidable panelists here, and in fact try to connect with the world that I have been lost to for some time. Thank you.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Thank you, sir, Chairman, sir. Now I'd like to, without further ado, I'd like to invite Mr. Satyendra Pandey, sir, the member, Gujarat Electricity Regulatory Commission, to give his remark on.
Good morning to everybody. Today topics is smart utilities integration in electricity, city gas as water. Now we can see that particularly in old times or old cities, we see that the electricity sector, electricity lines are going differently, water lines are laying differently, as well as gas lines are also laying differently. So integration of, if it is having two type of asset, physical assets, where the lines are laid down by the electricity lines or water line or gas lines, so that is laid down by the project utilities for the supply to the consumers. Now, by use of digital assets, it is possible to that physical asset has been utilized efficiently with digital equipments and its services also. It will provide smart seamless collaboration of communication between electricity, water and gas systems. By providing separate duct for the such type of utility, just like electricity, gas, water, as well as the fibers or communication fibers and other things, we can avoid the damages which has happened. We can see that in the city area particularly, where the digging is taking place or any repairing is taking place. So at that time, if there is problem in the water pipelines or gas pipelines, the digging taken place, it affect to the electricity wires or optical fibers and other things. So specific tunnels or specific duct has been provided where the different utilities for water, gas, electricity, as well as optical fibers, we can keep separate stages where it can be provided. So in case of any difficulties or any problems, it is identified easily and it will not affect to the utility services also. I give an example in Ahmedabad. Torrent Power, earlier it is Ahmedabad Electricity Company, has laid down the cables for supply of the power to the consumers. But as the expansion has been taken place or road has been expanded or something take place, at that time the cable goes under the roads and it is not possible for them to carry out the maintenance and other things. Thereafter they have to lay down the separate lines. So it increased the capex as well as it also increased the services provided by the utility providers. Similarly, now happen in the gas systems also, water system also. If any leakages happen, then it will take times to repair the same things also. But by use of the digital equipments and services, it is easily identify what is the problems at which place and easily identify carry out the maintenance work easily. So it is necessary that if new cities or smart cities concept has been taken place in that way, that separate utility services provider is provided where all utilities are kept at one place. That is just like a ducting for the electricity, wires, cable, fiber optics, pipelines for water, waste management and other things also. So by that services having sensors for verifying which provide the primary data. Thereafter, the services for the wire business or gas pipeline business, there is a network services provided and separate equipment is utilized for it. As well as thereafter, the data which has been available, that has been collected at one place, and that data is analyzed by common services of digital services, where the digital equipment has been provided, and that data can be analyzed by such equipments by utilization of artificial intelligence or machine learnings, and that will be helpful to the utilities to provide better service and fast services to the consumers. As per example, in electricity, smart meters are deployed, which provide the real-time monitoring data. It also provides the readings which are taken place at consumer place. It also helpful for carry out the billing efficiency. It also helpful to carry out if any case default on the consumer place or licensee place or any theft has been taken place, that can be easily identified. So it can be also integrated with the renewable energy generators, just like a solar generators, which has been took as a solar rooftop projects. It enhance the consumer services also. So it will provide better demand response program also. It can be used also for demand response program also, where the consumer can reduce its demand, and it helpful to the utility to meet out the higher demand of the utilities. And it can work as a resource for the storage without any investment by the licensee. By programming the demand response programs, the utility can provide some services or some better incentive to the consumer that can reduce their demand at particular peak times or utilize the off-peak times of power maximum. So that will be helpful to the utility to meet out the resources in optimum level by ways of that things. Similarly, grid sensor or automation has been utilized for the measuring the monitoring power flow, detecting faults, and optimize distribution networks. It isolates the default portions if any take place and repower the automatic, and it will reduce the downtime of the network if any fault has happened. By utilizing the advanced analytical tools which has been taken by data collected from the smart meter sensors, allow optimize load distributions and predict the demand patterns and identify area of the infrastructure sector. So different tools has been utilized for the particularly ETAP, CYMP, and any N-plan are utilized for measuring and verifying the optimal power flow, power system planning, voltage system ability, and such type of different things which are the data available from the sensors, meters can be analyzed by such type of digital equipments. So the data which has been available from the either electricity sector, gas sector, or water sectors, that can be utilized for analysis by the network or particularly equipments or control rooms where it can be easily. So that asset has been utilized commonly for all such type of things. So far as the water is concerned, the water meter are provided where it can be, we can measure what is the flow of the water in real-time basis. It can also helpful to detect if any leakages happen, and it can be easily monitored from the remote level also. Leak detection system also provide for the identify the leak at the water system and minimize the water loss and infrastructure damage also. SCADA system provided for the water systems is also helpful to the collect the data from the different different places, and it will helpful to control the water treatment plant, pumping stations, and reservoirs, and ensuring water efficient supply to the water systems also. Similarly, in case of the gas, smart gas meters can use for provide accurate measurement of the gas consumption facility for remote monitoring and enabling time detection of the leakage of the anomaly system. Pipeline monitoring systems, which can be also digital pipelines sensors provided to measure, to detect the leaks, pressure variations, and other anomaly in the gas distribution network, and enhance the safety and reducing losses. And geographical information system, GIS, can helpful to mapping the gas distribution infrastructure, optimize network designs, and facilitating maintenance of repair maintenance. Now, it is now it will, by integrating the physical asset with the digital assets, it can be work as a smart city solutions, which is a part of the sustainable development, where the digital service and economic development take place by way of connected, communicated digital government, and open data and civic management and smart kiosks and workplace development. Just as similarly, utilities and infrastructure, just like a smart lighting, smart waste management, smart water management, smart building, venue and campus asset taking, remote monitoring and digital twins are also some of the part of this type of integration of physical as well as the digital equipments. Similarly, for intelligence transportation in the city area, particularly intelligent transport management, connected vehicle, automation, vehicle, smart vehicle parkings, all these things have taken place, which will be helpful. It will also helpful to the public safety aspect also. While utilizing this type of network, digital network as well as digital equipments and analysis part, it will helpful to reduce the requirement of the resources, which are natural resources, and it is available in less quantum comparatively to, and it is depletion take place more and more. Just like I give an example of the Karnataka. Now this year they are facing the problem of the water supply, and due to less rains, water supply is available less. So the electricity which are there, their dependency on the hydropower projects, and hydropower projects are not operating optimally, and that's why the power generation which is they have planned, that is not available to them, and they are compelled to go for the procure the power and provide the supply to the consumer, which is a necessity now for the consumers. They have directed to the captive generating plants and other things that you have to supply to the consumers, and you cannot use for that things. So one type of natural resources, just like a water, it having linkage also with the electricity. So water and just like a water and electricity are quite connected with each other. Similarly, in non-availability of water, thermal power plant sometimes may be affected in that way. Non-availability of water, hydro plant is also affected. So integration of water and electricity by ways of important, it is very important that by use of digital equipments and equipments, we can plan out properly for verify the utilization of such type of equipment. Thank you.
Thank you, Pandey sir. I think enlightening us, Gujarat leading the way in integration of smart utilities. I think you know that Gujarat also hosts the longest and largest network of canal systems, Narmada canal system. There are branch, sub-branch, miners, and feeder channels. And they have been also trying to really link the electricity with the communication system and the water delivery. You can imagine at a head regulator, if we release water today at Kavadia, it takes 80 hours to reach Saurashtra. So therefore, they have to integrate and ensure that is a water delivery for the people. Same thing I think they have done in the GIFT City, if you know that.
GIFT City is a classic example of utility services providing. Yeah. So they have provided separate duct for that things, where the separate line for the water, gas, as well as electricity, as well as the waste management also. It is it is required to see that part also. For waste management, there is no requirement of transport from waste from home or office to the place of the disposal of that thing. You can directly send your waste directly to the waste plant directly. So they have provided separate duct for it. So that will be helpful to reduce the transportation as well as the different problems also.
Yeah. Thank you. So GIFT City is one of the examples. We were the consultant. I was the managing director of Halcro that time, working with the ILFS and all. So that is the project you see, the first attempt to really integrate and ensure that there will be a command control center which will operate everything as Mr. Pandey mentioned. Same thing happened as a redevelopment plan. It's not only new city, whether Dholera or GIFT City. It is also, if you look at, when we did the redevelopment of Connaught Place, which was 100 years almost going to be, Engineers India Limited started working on the redevelopment of the area. If you can go and see, there is a huge tunnel you can drive down. All the utilities have been put in that corridor. It was new development in redevelopment project. So it is possible wherever, but I think attempt is there to integrate all the services to have a better efficiency and delivery, and I will ensure capex also reduces and also delivery. That's most important. Thank you very much. With this, let me just introduce my friend Kamal Verma, CEO of Triveni Engineering's Water Business Group. He's an old friend and been into the business for many, many years, almost 30 years. Kamal, this floor is yours for 15 minutes. You can speak whatever you like.
So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for inviting me. It's a very interesting subject, the integration of the utilities. And I have been working, especially in infrastructure, for the last almost 34 years. And especially in water, my experience is that the level of digitalization and mapping of the utility, now it is taking shape, but traditionally it has been very poor. I give you one example. When the Delhi Metro Rail was being constructed from Udyog Bhavan to Green Park, so we checked all the stakeholders about their where the pipeline is going, so that in underground tunnel we should not, puncture the pipelines and other utilities. So we could not get any data, whatever data was there. So that did not show that there are deep underground gas lines and deep underground sewerage lines. So once we started the tunnel boring machines, then we got stuck over there because they were very, very old gas pipelines. Even the department did not know how the pipeline is traversing from which area. So generally in engineering business, we define the two type of utilities, whether it's a gas pipeline or any other thing. One is the chartered utilities and second is the uncharted utilities. Uncharted means nobody knows whether it is there or not there. So therefore it is very important to integrate first at the water level. I am from water business, so I will more speak about the water. So in a typical municipal corporation or in any city, so in water point of view, there are three different type of utilities. One is the treatment unit. You have the water treatment plants or the sewerage treatment plants. Second is sewerage line. Third is the water supply pipeline. They have different diameters and all that. So in treatment business, there is some level of integration, some level of digitalization or the transformation digital point of view. Like most of the treatment plants these days are SCADA controlled. So you have the data acquisition through the system. So you know how it is happening. And this SCADA system output is connected to the IoT system. And you can be anywhere, so you can hook on to the internet and you can see how the plant is functioning. What are the inlet parameters, what are the outlet parameters of the plant. And this feed generally goes these days with the municipal corporation or water boards, whomsoever is the stakeholder on that. So in his office, he can see if he has 10 plants in his jurisdiction, he can see how the work is happening, which plant is performing or not performing, so what are the issues and all that. So one is the treatment plant level integration on that. Second is the water supply line and all that. But water supply line, because some of the lines are very old, so even department does not know from where the pipeline is going. That's a very challenging area. Third is sewerage lines and all that. So water lines and sewerage lines, these are two challenging areas where the integration is at very limited point of view. But yes, from the treatment plant point of view, there is an integration on that. And as I think in the first opening session, people have mentioned here also that the collaboration or the information sharing among the utilities like the gas pipelines, you have water supply pipelines or the electricity lines, there is hardly any, to large extent, any collaboration. So we have seen that new road is constructed and then 1 month later, the pipeline guys are coming, they are cutting the roads to put their pipelines and then they're trying to match the road pavement. But road maintenance is never as good as the new one. There is always a, difference in the levels and the quality on that. So there is a challenge that one integration is required at the city level, so that one entity should be there who is providing the electricity, city gas and the water supply, whether it's water or sewerage, so that they know that who is doing what. And you don't want a situation that newly asset is created and immediately you require to cut or modify or deviate from the original path on that. Third level is the integration, the mapping point of view. So whatever pipelines are there, whether it's old or new, it should be integrated, it should be put on the GIS map. And GIS map should show that where are the pipelines traversing in the city, how the electricity lines, cables, gas pipelines are crisscrossing each other in the entire city, so that once you are doing the maintenance work or doing some new pipeline, you exactly know through the GIS maps that what exactly you are doing and what you are required to do on that one. So now, for the digital transmission point of view, as we discussed in the opening session also, so there are certainly real benefits if the user can get a single bill of the electricity plus gas plus water. So that will be a great amount of increase in the efficiency in terms of the service delivery to the end customer. Whether you have the customer care, currently 3 customer cares, it could be clubbed to the 1. Currently, you have 3 different departments doing probably some overlapping works over there. So this could be integrated. The bill generation, so 3 different entities are generating separate bills. So it could be clubbed together as a single bill to the end user. And of course, as mentioned in the opening session by BSES official, that by sharing actually everybody gains. So there is no harm in sharing the data. The different departments are acquiring the different data through the different sources, but integration is happening at a very limited level. So therefore, mapping the utilities, integration of the different departments, and mapping of through the GIS maps and all is very, very important on that. And like since I am from the water and wastewater background, I can speak more about that, like in the SCADA system and digitalization, you get a real-time data on that. And this real-time data improves the efficiency. If you want to make some, immediate real-time corrections in the plant, you can do it. And you can maintain and you can monitor the inventory system. So what kind of inventory is there, whether it is spares or the other high consumable spares and inventory over there. So through the QR code system, through the applications, different IoT based applications, you can actually very well manage those things. And certainly there are several enormous amount of benefits in the optimization of the asset. And so I will stop here if any particular question is there in that one. So certainly I think I am up for it if there is a integration from all the utilities, electricity, city gas and the water. This will be a great, achievement in India in terms of bringing more efficiency, reducing the cost, and a great experience to the end customers. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamal. Thank you. And Kamal, has rightly said that, we always say that water is the poor cousin of all utilities. That the sector is neglected, always welfare. You have electricity, you have gas, you have, the telephone, all are regulated. They have a regulator. Water has no regulatory systems. So therefore, water, nobody is interested to invest in money. They don't understand the revenue model. And of course, Kamal is running a plant in Mathura. I think everybody knows. They supply 15 MLD, wastewater, treated wastewater to the IOCL, Mathura plant. It's still going on, right?
IOCL Mathura refinery.
A refinery, yeah. So the reason being, this is part of circular recovery. But unless you have a regulator, you can't charge X amount to, the treated, what is the cost of 1 kiloliter of treated water? It should be higher than the water which you get from the river or something which you do merely primary treatment. But here you have to do secondary, tertiary treatment. Well, having said that, I think this is where we need to really understand, sensitize. If you want to have an integration of all utility, you have to bring them into same level playing. Otherwise,
just to add this one, what he has said that India with 17% of the world's population has only 4% of the water stock. So therefore we are already under stress. And if you see the graph since 1947, where the water availability per capita was around 6,000 cubic meter. So now it has reduced to 1,700 So there is a steep decline in the last 75 years. So roughly 1% decline every year is happening in the water availability. And second point is that as I mentioned, Mr. Verma mentioned that if the next war happens, it will happen on the water. We have already seen the dispute between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu for sharing the Kaveri river water. And so there is a tremendous need to integrate and bring more efficiency in the utilization of the water and how we manage the water. One more thing, just take 1 minute
please.
on that. in India, India is not per se water scarce country. The total water requirement demand in India is roughly around 3,000 billion cubic meter per year, but the availability through the precipitation is around 4,000 billion cubic meters. So the availability of resource is there. So that is not the problem, but the problem is the management of resources. So India collects hardly less than 10% of the precipitated water through the rain in different areas, which is very, very low from the international standard. So we have to, tackle. So you have to tackle at multiple forums and multiple levels. One is to how to bring the efficiency, how to map it, how to digitalize it, how to integrate it with the different sources and different utilities in the city level. So certainly there's a good start. I think I am sure that maybe 20, 25 years down the line, we will have a very different kind of, asset smart utility integration on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamal. Thank you. There's a lot of challenges, to supply water with the leakages happening almost 50% in Delhi. If you look at for barring other places, now the question of Jal Jeevan in rural, you'd never know what other system is working, whether it's hydraulically designed to deliver the X amount of water to the consumer. But well, so let's move to the next speaker. I think my next speaker is Anshumali Bhusan. So he is president, he is CEO of IGL Genesis Technology Limited. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman, sir. Thank you, Pradhanji. I'm in such an enlightened panel of speakers with me today in the morning. And I will just begin by one small thought. And after listening to so many speaker voices, so there is an age-old saying called Shiti Jal Pavak Gagan Samira Panch Tattva Se Bana Sharira, which says that our body is made up of the 5 elements, and earth, water, wind, sky, and fire compose the body. And that is where we are sitting today. So the question is not why we should do it, but the question is how we should do it and how fast we can do it. Not 25 years, but can we do it now? So like the central government, they head the government and they are the face of the whole government. And that is how you can say that it is like an integration of all the government functions. Similarly, if you see in a company, there is an integration of all the functions to deliver a customer delight or to address a particular problem or solution. Similarly, we have got here today. We have to get around our thoughts and try to see how best to address this problem. Digitization is probably the least of the worries, but physical integration is the major of the worry, because we are talking of the poor cousins, the rich cousins, and then the medium and not so rich cousins, and how to integrate all the 3 cousins to marry and come together. So that is probably, we have to see how best to address the issue. So I am Anshumali, and I am currently CEO of IGL Genesis Technologies Limited. I have a bit of a background. I have been a first-generation entrepreneur, and my first business was into defense product development. So we kind of integrated subsystems in defense to create a larger system. After that, I started working in electrical loss reduction product. We developed a product for commercial loss reduction, and it went very successful. We are able to reduce the commercial losses of electrical utilities. And thereafter, I stepped into natural gas segment, wherein we started the development of smart gas meters. Plus, we started also developing the meter data management system and head-end systems, so that, because gas systems are also very, very diverse. I mean, you're talking of a integration of gas, water, and electricity. In gas itself, there is a lot of diversity. So there are different kind of gas meters, different flow rates, different challenges. So we tried to develop one software system, which is called the meter data management systems. And that is able to integrate all the kinds of gas meter, at least to bring to the utility level that, okay, here is the map of the utility. You can see all the kinds of gas meters. You can do a reconciliation on the go. You can do data collection. You can address your consumers. You can do indexing, all those things. Similarly, we also integrated head-end systems, because as entrepreneur, we knew that gas meter is not the only worry of the utility. They also need to say where the people are going, how to provide the best operation and maintenance services, how to address consumer complaints, how to integrate billing into the whole equation, because everything is linked. A consumer can be a good consumer only if he pays, not otherwise. Then we, last year, we started into manufacturing segment. So now we are bringing out our own gas meters, basically on the diaphragm technology and also on the ultrasonic technology, and also on gas detection equipment. So this is very briefly about what we do and how we have grown up and what are the level of solutions that we can propose for the integration of digital assets. So what are the possibilities of such a challenge? So the India's story is that we have got different services, different utilities. We are not integrated. So as in the West, we see like one public utility is giving service to all the three segments. So all the cousins are united and they know how to consolidate the revenues and how to marry the challenges of marketing, billing, collections and everything. So as OEM, yes, we can integrate energy-oriented billing strategy. That is something what we can bring to the table. In hardware assets and in software assets, we have already integrated strategy for gas and water, which we have already done and demonstrated. So our solution today can bill and read all the underlying metering assets in water and gas as well. And our meter data management can give you a complete analysis and analytics of gas reconciliation or water loss or commercial losses you can bring into one single software solution. In operational assets also, over the last 3 years, IGTL has developed a lot of apps, lot of O&M strategies of how to best utilize the assets on the field and how to basically optimize the delivery of these assets by consolidation of areas, geographical areas, regions, marrying them by GIS technology, field force utilization methods, and we are doing that. In finance and billing, how to generate one consumer and one bill. So again, if you have the above aspects, then definitely you are nearing to your goal of making one single bill, which is the dream of every consumer. Although it may be a large bill to pay, but then that is what they want, that they should pay one bill and be able to address the utilities in one go. Because ultimately the utilities terminate at the consumer end. That is where the end point is. So what is the relevance of all of this? So the relevance, of course, what Pradhan sir has also mentioned and Verma ji has also mentioned is that we need to be customer centric. The utilities need to be now focused on one single point, which is the customer. Second is invasiveness. So for gas meter, for water meter, for electrical meters, still today there is a lot of invasiveness going inside houses. So people have to enter the households, they have to make their doorbell, and most of the households today are run by 2 people, or basically kids are there. So they don't want the invasiveness to be there. So that is where the smart portion comes up. Third is utilization of resources. So many people doing O&M, so many people doing billing, so many people doing marketing. So again, cost is there and cost would be there, but how to consolidate and make one single pitch, how to share these resources, not as the utility, but at least at the consumer end. And then give consumers more control on the effective energy use. I should be able to choose whether to use gas for heating or to use electricity for heating, and that is when power parity, commercial parity is going to be there, then we can talk about these things also. So I have just made 2 different strategies for the purpose of this presentation. One is a consumer centric. What is the consumer looking for today? Or what is the consumer centric phase of the utilities? So one is sales and customer acquisition. This can be pulled together. Then billing, of course, can be done together. Collections also can be married. Support centers can be married. Social media management, alert systems, companies spend a huge lot of money on this. This can be actually very neatly integrated into one single contact point. Utility-centered focus strategies would be pricing of the utility and how to bring a parity in that pricing, because as I said, water should not be remain so cheap. It is the most precious utility, so it should be brought up. Gas is already at par with oil, I would say. Then how these 3 things are going to be talking to each other to make the common man see as a energy focus of their household. So second is metering, how to meter these resources and effectively be able to generate one common bill. Then emergency and O&M services. This is something very specific to each utility and they should address it on their own. Water utility emergency is something different, gas is totally different. And then legal. So if there is a legal fallout, yes, each utilities have to deal it in a different way. And what are the enablers that we talk about in digital asset sharing are, so we have a master meter data management system. So from MDM, we move to one master MDM. and a head-end system which can collect all the data from all the utilities and bring to a MDM solution. Then consumer indexing is something which we are failing and we are doing repeatedly in each of the utilities, but still we are unable to locate the correct address of our consumers. So because these are physical assets, so there is a digital tagging which we can do with all the consumers. So we have a good address for each consumer that we can fix our digital assets on. Then we can tag these consumers as paying or non-paying. Again, that's a clear segregation of where the fault lies and how to address those faults. And third is it can create a country-wide fixed digital address system. So like a PIN code, you could have a consumer code which can actually map all the consumers of all the utilities in India. So this is going to give you a social relevance KYC parameter which can be addressed and directly tagged to each of the consumer. So in mobile apps, again the integration strategies are self-service apps are there, or they're already there with most of the utilities. Challenge is how to bring them together, recharge, payments or complaints. Then survey apps for deployment of these assets or consumer indexation. Then O&M management, GIS based of course is there, and emergency responses. So these are the enablers for digital asset sharing. So we have listed out what is our thinking on the sharing of these digital assets. So finally, I come to the challenges and recommendations for what are the model integration points for these businesses. So in basically marketing, we can have sharing of consumers and incentivization of enrollment. So like I see in gas, very less people opt for piped gas, and still there are a lot of consumers on LPG cylinders. While there is a very, very obvious need and obvious pricing strategy done by PNG, so the challenge is how to bring them into the main fold. So there has to be incentivization from the regulator and from the government so that the LPG cylinder person comes and directly becomes a consumer of this gas. Similarly, on the water side also, this incentivization has to work. In metering, so convincing gas and water utilities to adopt smart meters. So unless you are smart, there is no way we can have digital asset sharing, or if there is a digital asset sharing, it will not be linked to the physical asset. So how to convince the gas and water utilities to invest today and go to a better tomorrow. And then one consumer tag model. So ultimately you will going towards a one single consumer tag, consolidation of meter assets as a data end. So that will be the data generation point for your entire digital asset strategy, and one head end for data dissemination. So that is the complete challenges and recommendations that I could bring up to the table. I would be ready for any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anshumali. Yeah, I think that's a good idea that if you geotag one utility in one house, it should be able to do that instead of, like for example, we are facing trouble with the MCDs that you geotag your house property tax, I mean, if you have already geotagged one of the utilities, they should pick up from that address and should be able to populate to the other utilities instead of having.
I'm sure you are getting calls from every day from your courier guy from Zomato. Yeah. So they are beneath your house, but they are calling you.
Yeah,
right? So, but if you are tagged, then they know where to deliver.
But MCD has started the geotagging of your house. Okay?
Yeah.
I have done it actually, so it will have a unique ID and pinpoint.
It doesn't work many times, that's another. But Anshumali, I have a question that, when you talk about, in enabler challenges and all, there's one thing which we said paying, non-paying bills, I know, my office in Chittaranjan Park area, that area. I know exactly from the database, if I run an analytics, I can tell you how many people pay the bill on time, how many people in 5 days in advance. And there are some people, they'll pay 2 days, 3 days, 5 days. And there are some people, they're not say, well, I didn't get a bill, meter billing, it is like a, standard bill. So that also, of course, you can build on that application so that it can help further.
So I think today we are sitting here and we are probably going ahead in India for drone deliveries. We are talking about, endpoint mappings. So therein the geotagging and the paying aspect, both is going to be taken care of, because then prepay models help you to avoid the payment missing. So you pay and you purchase a particular volume of gas, water or electricity, and then you consume it as per your own convenience. And when it is over, you are ready to pay again. Or if you don't pay, then you face a blackout. So I think these can be handled by smart metering technologies and very, very essential for a digital economy.
Yeah, Anshumali, thank you very much for your very lucid presentation. and in fact enlightening everybody as to what needs to be done. But there's one aspect which I thought you need to focus, where you are talking about some of the areas where commonly it can be addressed. And some of the areas you said that specific utilities will have to address that, the legal and there are 2-3 more issues. One more issue is the consumer grievance. Because many times the technology stonewalls the consumer grievance redressal. And when a consumer is making a grievance, that grievance is not being handled, or if there is a sort of a integrated digitized platform, it is either very difficult to reach your utility provider, or even if you reach it, then the redressal is not very satisfactory. So that also will have to be addressed separately, because the kind of grievances are probably like that they can't be put into compartments. There will be few which will be very specific to a particular utility.
Very well suggested, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Anshumali, for your nice presentation. Let's move to the next presenter, Ms. Tania, is the president of Bluedesal. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Is my presentation here? Oh, okay. Yeah. Hello, I'm Tania Soleil from Bluedesal in California in the United States. What we make is wave-powered desalinated water with small modular pods. Now, I was invited, and thank you very much for the invitation to this panel, to talk about shared assets. And one of the things that I'd like to talk about is, it was mentioned a bit earlier, in the United States, 25% of the country's electricity is consumed moving and treating water. And these are statistics from the California Energy Commission. And what I really hope is that as India improves its service numbers of hours of water per locality, India does not end up making the same mistakes that the United States has made. So for context, it's been beautiful since I got to India to see all of the signs about one world, one planet. But we're not like electricity, we're not like gas. We need to share our water with other animals and with plants. And too often when we talk about the asset of water, we only talk about human needs. And that's a real concern. We are losing fish in California. We are losing plants in California. Why? Because when we talk about assets, we only talk about assets for human consumption. And so what happens when we deplete this asset of water? Here I am offering you a solution of taking some more water from the ocean for human needs. But in California, when the ecosystem is depleted from water, issues arise. There's, like I said, no water in rivers for no fish. We've also depleted our ground aquifers by constantly overpumping. And so what happens? The land subsides. And that's without even considering the impacts of sea level rise. So what are the energy requirements of water? We have to pump it. We have to produce it. There's pollution. There's contamination. There's the elimination and control. There's the full cycle of water. So one of the things that we hope that we don't end up with is, again, a centralized system. We're talking about centralized, digitized assets, and that's okay. But that doesn't mean that the creation, the storage, and the distribution needs to be centralized. There are significant costs to the distribution, and especially of water. into the environment. So in California, we talk about various uses of water, different levels of quality of water. We've got water for agriculture. It's not just the general flora and fauna and the pretty pretty flowers that you see, but the food that we eat. The first place, when there was an earlier comment about wars for water, that's food for water, or water for food. Our agriculture consumes in the United States 70% of what we call the produced water. So this is one level of water purification. A second higher level of water purification is what we would call human potable, the ability to drink that water. In addition, of course, we've got medical use water, which has to have a higher level. And in the United States, the highest level of water purity is really for silicon production. But again, these are all systems. We're talking about AI now. How much water do AI systems need? Huge amounts of water. So there's an increasing need for water and water storage for humans due to population growth. What are our considerations from a public policy perspective? What are we going to do to be able to limit that? In addition, of course, there's climate change, droughts, leading to loss of snow. In California, our biggest water storage system was natural snow. The snow was in the north, it melted slowly, it dribbled down, and it's supplied all year round. Well, when the temperature's higher, that snow melts faster and goes right out to the ocean, and we don't have water year round. So all of our infrastructure related to storage has got to change just because of items like climate change. So we basically, in this asset discussion, need to think a little higher at water for both macro system grids and microsystem grids, and consider not just the production of the water itself, but the cost to distribute and use it. Of course, then the big one is pricing of water. There have been comments made. On the one hand, in the United States, we talk about equity. You know, is it fair to charge the people with the least resources the most amount of water? Which is actually what we do in California. Because in California, our agriculture has contracts that are over 100 years old and priced the way they were priced 100 years old. So is that fair? So we have to find a way to incentivize saving water through pricing. Otherwise, we end up with the tragedy of the commons, where everybody just uses as much as possible, even though this is a very limited resource. So again, the takeaways, my recommendations, and it's hard to integrate into a total discussion of assets, is to look at small, modular, distributed solutions. Those are the future. And to look at pricing in a fair and equitable manner, because that's really going to be truly foundational so that we don't end up with that war on water. You're welcome to ask me any questions. My name is Tania Soleil. That's my website, my LinkedIn. Please feel free to reach out and ask any questions. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Tania, for a nice presentation highlighting California's the water stress of America and produce almost, $3 trillion? What is the state income? It's around $2.5 trillion or something like that. So they need more water. So the energy, of course, is required. I think getting energy in the modular form for the water treatment or purifications or treatment, wastewater is actually the way forward for California, from centralized system to small and distributed modular system. I think that works actually. Then you can use other energy sources like wind, wave, and solar and all. So I think that some places it will work, and I don't know how the large like San Francisco, Los Angeles, they will do that. But yeah, there is a challenge as well. Thank you very much, Tania. Now we have the last presentation, Kunal. He just came in. Kunal, the floor is yours. Now you can do that in 10 to 15 minutes. Thank you. Kunal is the chairman of Rojgar.com.
My greetings to all of you, my colleagues on the dais. Thank you, Chair, for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I'll largely touch upon three major topics today. I run a technology company, and we are operating in about 7 countries, India, US, Canada, Singapore, Middle East, and UK. And I would just like to touch upon 3 major areas of work. I loved the presentation by Anshumali ji. I credited him for the fact that the kind of work that we do in our smart city management softwares has a lot of coverage in a PSU and a SPV, which is really, really interesting to see. And that's a mind-blowing initiative to cover all asset classes. And instead of overlapping it, I would just share about one of the projects that we had created for Noida Authority. It was called PIMS, Property Information Management System. The first project wherein we started tagging all kinds of infrastructural, from electrical pole points to geo-tagging of a lot of assets of the entire Noida Authority, more from a billing and a maintenance perspective. And that's where the sharing of resources comes from. How and where can you create an integrated system such that the asset classes can be identified, their allocation, their expiry can be managed, and at the same time you can bill these asset classes under one platform. I personally think that about 6 years back and 5 years back when we did this project, it was ahead of a lot of other municipal corporations across India when it was done. And then again, we worked with the Satna Smart City and the Ujjain Smart City in creating multiple integrated software systems, wherein everything from the city infrastructural requirements were mapped and how a single billing system could be used for integrating all the assets of different classes. This is the way forward to go across, and this is what we see in a lot of other international countries wherein smart city management projects are done. I would also like to dwell upon one of the initiatives and one of the projects that we had done about 7 years back, and this was again ahead of time. This was about how do you use the utilization of electrical consumption of water in unauthorized colonies in the state, and how do you come out with the consumption patterns, the FAR ratios, and the authorization amounts. As we speak, the city in which we are in, there are about 1,800 unauthorized colonies in Delhi. So that means about 30% of people living in Delhi are still in unauthorized colonies, people who do not have a building layout map and a plan. However, they are very, very big consumers of gas, electricity, and water. How do you do and what do you do from a billing perspective? There is a very recent scheme by the government of India. It is called PM Uday. It is Unauthorized Colonies in Delhi Awas Adhikar Yojana. But how do you come out with the amount of registration? This comes out with the utilization. This is like backward integration from what we devised a formula. How much KVA per household is taken up from an electrical perspective to come out with what is the number of people actually living in that house. Number of people living in that house would give us a roughly estimate of the, the size of the house and whatever is the regulation amount that has to come out from, move it from an authorized building to a unauthorized building to a authorized building. So we have been using a lot of technology from this front, and we have also lent our hand to one of India's first and only carbon trading companies called Finbird. It is authorized by the UK exchange to issue certificates as well as trade the carbon certifications and points on the international exchanges. We are very keen to see on how the effect of smart city management takes up to usher a next level of urban infrastructure growth in this country. A lot of assets which get wasted, a lot of asset tagging which is not done. At the same time, the expiry and management of these assets is nowhere to be classified under one government organization perspective. You have different municipal corporations, urban housing, urban infrastructure, road infrastructure, and then a consolidated integration, a single point management system is the need of the hour, and we don't have most of these prevalent in most of the smart city management solutions being delivered in this country. We design customized solution based on the projects that we get, and we will deliver one of these systems for one of the upcoming projects in Visakhapatnam, and that will be a model to be followed and model to be seen by a lot of other coming up cities. This is where I would like to just share about what we have been delivering and what we have delivered, and I'm happy to take the questions.
Thank you, Kunal. I think that's the way forward. I think as you can see that there are systems, citizen services, portals are there in many countries, Western countries, whether Canada, US and all. But you know, the only one point is there. We don't have Blackstone, we don't have KKR, who will manage a lot of assets here. You know, those who own assets and then bring money and then ensure that, you know, all services are delivered. So we need a lot of money. Of course, our municipalities are poor, but hopefully, sir, we need urban local bodies, you know, reforms. Unless we bring reforms, all utility services is a distant dream for us, because you know, everything taken, the money earned by the municipalities taken by the state, and then the municipality, although on most of the revenues, they have become poor and they didn't have money even paid to the salary. So I think, you know, we need that, of course, and going forward, we of course need, you know, such services to ensure that, you know, redressal, like, you know, services, you know, you give people are ready to pay money. I give an example, like when Desi was there in Delhi, we used to pay, you know, like 3-bedroom house, full ACs in one room and all, 320 rupees max, sir. I've never paid in the government. But now you use, whether your connection number things, the bill comes minimum 2,000 to 3,000 rupees, same thing, you know. The reason being, we don't have voltage fluctuations, we don't have power cuts, we don't use inverters, or we don't use what you call, you know, stabilizers in any of the electrical gadgets. So you see that, so you get a good services, continuous. There is no fear that your system is going to burn down at night because high voltage comes. So these are the services delivered which people are very happy to pay. I think this is what we need to look at and integrate these services in going forward. Thank you very much. I now open for the, you know, questions, answers to, we have time actually, we can take some questions, and I will encourage people to just introduce yourself and then your question to any of the panel members.
Sir, I am Somit Ghosh from Grid Expertise India Limited. Actually, sir, my question to the panel is, are we seeing any roadmap for separation of carriage and content in the water and gas, like it has been done or being done for the water, for the electricity, to bring in the efficiency and competition?
Sorry, the segregation of?
Carriage and content, like the asset owning asset is entity, one entity, and the content which is being thrown in the utility will be owned by some other agency, like we did it in electricity.
Yeah, I think
Generation and distribution.
Yes.
yeah, especially in the case of the PPP projects, public-private partnership, whether it is on full PPP or the hybrid annuity model, what is happening in the treatment sector point of view, whomsoever is the agency for the EPC, for the design and construction, so they have they have been responsible. They are responsible for 10 to 15 years of the operation maintenance, and there are guidelines that for the sludge, whatever is extracted after the treatment, what should be the class of that and how it should be disposed on that. Depending upon the category, whether it is a sewage treatment plant or the industrial effluent treatment plant, if it is a hazardous category of the sludge, it should go to the hazardous landfill. If it is a biological sludge, then there is a possibility you can generate the electricity out of that one, depending on the what process. If you have the conventional process or even the SBR these days, new technologies, you can generate the electricity, and that electricity you can consume for running the facility, and you can connect to the grid. So whatever consumption is there, you will be charged on net metering basis, whatever you have consumed and whatever you have produced, a difference of that one. And whatever nutrients are being removed after the further treatment, it can be used by the farmers for their farming and all that. It is used like a manure on that. So you have like, the question is largely on the circular economy of the water. Yeah.
You was asking essentially, like if I am supplying the raw water, and then let's say I have the water which is coming from Delhi, let's say Hathinkund, I own the water, let irrigation department. But the water is being sent to the Delhi Jal Board, which is the utilities. So Delhi Jal Board has to maybe paying some money, like all the urban local bodies. They buy water in bulk water from the water resource department or irrigation because they own the water. And then they buy at kiloliter something, then they treat it and then supply.
So like in natural gas,
Yes.
we have got GAIL,
Yeah.
which is the transmission utility.
Yes.
And they transport the
Correct,
gas from the source or from the LNG stations.
Yeah,
And
that's
then gas utilities, like distribution utilities are there, which would discover that gas at a metering point and then further distribute it within their own geographical area.
Yeah.
For
In
gas,
water, that's not there.
No.
yeah. So in gas, there is a very well-made segregation. And even today, after the coming of gas energy exchange, so now you can actually purchase gas online, and with a composition, you can also dictate your compositions, and as per that, you can procure the gas, and you will be delivered that gas efficiently. We also have Mr. Raman Kumar, who is Mr. Raman Shwastha, who is the Senior Vice President. He can also enlighten the audience with his remarks on the transmission and distribution of gas at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in water sector, this is not the practice.
No, actually, but I think I'll tell you, the couple of companies, they showed interest 10, 12 years. Sir, one of those things was Wellspun. They wanted to, put in, pipeline from the dams, buy water at bulk and supply to the industries in, part of the Rewa and, the areas where industrialization happened. But there is no water. Bundelkhand, for example, where do you get water if you are mining? If somebody create a storage or buys from the large dams or any storage systems and then put your pipeline and distribution systems at your own cost and then supply the water to industry. It happens actually. I mean, for example, I don't know, sir, Dholera, how the water is going to come. I believe Dholera, when it's developed completely with a lot of semiconductor and other industries, water is going to be the key, production, ingredient for this kind of thing. Where the water is going to, somebody has to supply water. I mean, many of you probably large company, they can start having a SPV to supply water. Like, for example, I'll tell you, in Paradip, the water to the refinery, IOCL refinery, who is running actually, there is a separate SPP was run by ILFS Water, and they supplied water that, they uptake water at Mahanadi Barrage, Cuttack, and transmit a 90 kilometer to Paradip. That's how they supply. That's an SPV. So they buy water from state water resource department, and then they become carrier and then treat it and then give it to the plant for their production. I think those things are happening actually in industrial cases, not on municipal or general things. Yeah, probably I would say that Jal Jeevan Mission will bring this kind of model for future entrepreneur, at least some startup to start doing that. Thank you very much. Any other question, please? Yeah. Can you have the mic, please, here?
Hi, my name is Ankur. I'm from ITRON. So, my question is to Ms. Tania. I was enlightened by your presentation, and I came to know first time that US is spending 25% of its energy in transportation of water. So as we go along, we have been introduced with a new mission in India, Amrut 2, which is bringing 24/7, trying to bring 24/7 water supply to the citizens. And I think that when we are going into that phase, the energy consumption will be increasing. So is there any steps taken by US in that to reduce the energy consumption or to optimize that? Any new technology or something like that if they are using there?
Yes, so that's basically part of our benefit ad. So one of the things that in California, California is a long state, and our snow and our water is in the north, and we have spent a lot of money, just CapEx, 50 years ago to build 2 big tunnels, and Governor Newsom wanted to build 2 more, but it's already down to 1. But now we have to pump it. Forget about CapEx. Now let's talk OpEx. We've got to pump all this water from the north to the south, which is where LA and San Diego, the big population centers, are. Now, part of that had to do with the way our storage system worked, which was this snow in the north that slowly melted down and could then come down. So we, however, are saying, okay, we've got this big coastline, kind of like India. India's a triangle more. It's got this big coastline. Instead of bringing the water from the north and going south, in California, why don't we take it much easier just from the coast, from the west coast? And that's where our distributed wave power desalination, to take that water that's right next to us, desalinate it and supply those communities instead of having this huge distribution system that, of course, incurs all of these energy costs.
Thank you.
Tania, I just want to ask you a supplementary. In Lakshadweep in India, an experiment was done from taking water from the sea and desalinate, whatever you say, and then providing drinking water to the population. But the cost is prohibitive. The cost is prohibitive. So for a country like India, or for any this exercise to be taken on the triangular coastline,
and so
is there a technology? Is there a technology?
And that's exactly where I was going. So there's the capex of the way that traditional, now just look at desalination. It's these huge plants like in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the Middle East, centralized, huge, using a lot of non-renewable power. And so they're very expensive to operate, and they result in what you just mentioned, expensive water. We have one in California in Carlsbad next to San Diego. So what we're saying is, instead of making these huge, big installations, let's make modular units about the size of this stage, and let's have them up and down, and instead of powering them with non-renewables, in our case, let's power it with wave power. And so we've reduced that cost, and it's no longer that very large CapEx and OpEx for communities that are, and I came originally as part of a U.S. commercial delegation. We came to Delhi a week ago. I'm losing track of time. We went to Mumbai, Chennai, and then came back. And what was really beautiful to see was to meet people from some of these smaller communities near the water that are struggling with water today. You all know they're struggling, but they don't see any solutions because they see only expensive solutions. So no, we fully understand this has to be affordable. And you know what? Wave power is more reliable than wind power and then solar power. So it's also looking at renewables that can power beyond just daytime or when the wind is up. I mean, I can speak forever on my technology, but you don't want me to do.
Yeah.
There is another project actually which we did in the Middle East, like you just mentioned. The only difference that what we did along with another German company was that after desalination of the water, we also injected into the ground aquifers. So we mapped all the aquifers, and then we were able to create a recharge portable water for the ground aquifer for around 60 days of water supply. So that kind of infrastructure is probably the largest in the world and currently, and it is meant for the city of Abu Dhabi. that is
Yeah.
already functional.
Thank you. Well, I think in India, I think many people know that we had last week, we had a big bash pre-wedding ceremony in one of the driest desert city of India is Jamnagar. The entire city, the plant is run by the desalination water. 400 MLD plant plus 100 MLD. So everything greenery, what you see, the largest greenery probably in that area is actually through the desalination water. We have a city with 7 to 8 million population down south, which is also supplemented by a lot of interstate water transfer through Telugu Ganga project, 400 MLD of desalination plant in Chennai. So it's work. Also reuse water from the wastewater. So it's been all, like you need to really ensure that water security, you have to ensure wherever water is possible to make it sustainable at the city to tap, whether it's rainwater harvesting or desalination or, long distance transmissions. It's all has to happen actually. We look at the situation in Bangalore, in Hyderabad. Bangalore gets water from 200 kilometers. Kaveri stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 now it's going on. 980 meter height, you bring lift water from 280 meter. So you are lifting 600 meter. Major cities, look at Jaipur, look at Hyderabad 680 meter height. You bring water from Nagarjun Sagar, which is 213 meter. So you see so much of energy is being used in lifting water. When you lift water from the plain to a, the kind of a plateau, and then you would pollute those water. And that's what happened. You need to reuse, recycle those water. That's what we have been looking. We have planned at central government looking at 30% of all water produced in from wastewater plant has to be recycled and reused. That's a mandate actually for Class A cities. Then Class B, Class A cities, that there. So we look at, but energy is one of the area which you need to integrate. Wherever there is a possibility, we need to recover resources so that, you compensate those cost part, because as you mentioned that cost, we have companies came in 2010, flipped in iFlux. The number of desalination company came to set up in Ankleshwar, Baroda, Dahej area. They couldn't do it. Anything beyond 12 paise per liter is not going to really help you in municipal water. It has to be 7-8 paise water, which is little higher than the municipal water, which is sourced from ground or from the river. Beyond 7-8 paise, 10 paise, 4 liter production capacity of yield in produced production is not going to really make you, even I'm an entrepreneur, if I want to do a plant and supply water, it's not going to work out because the tariff has not been rationalized, and that's where you need to do. Thank you. Any other question, please? If not, then we'll probably wrap up this session. I would request Chairman Sir to give last few words and before we close the session.
Thank you, Mr. Pradhan. Firstly, I would like to compliment you for very successfully conducting this workshop, and in fact addressing several issues and filling in wherever there was a small gap in some issues that are being discussed. So thank you very much. I also like to thank all the panelists here who have given a deep insight into a subject which has not been explored much. And I would like to say that, as somebody mentioned, that there is a physical integration and there is a digital integration. Digital integration may be possible, though it has its pitfalls, as I said, regarding the, for example, the grievance redressal, etc. But physical integration is something which is very, very important. And for that also the technology will have to come into place, because many a times when these lines are laid underground and few years later, people are not even aware what exactly, which line is gone from where to where. I am telling you, I was in the Rajya Sabha Parliament for 4 years, and in the old building. And in the old building, and that's the time when the new building was being conceived. The one reason for thinking of the new building was that to do anything in the old building, the building was robust, the structures were good, but anything to do with the seepage, anything to do with the electricity, anything to do with any additional things, nobody knew. No one knew where, from which side to which side the lines have gone, about the electricity, about the sewage, about the water, everything. So it was just a trial and error method through which the physical integrations are being done. So it is very important, and even if you see in the multi-storied colonies, when the builder, after having handed over to the dwellers, to the residents, walks away, and then there is a new agency which does the maintenance, it always has a problem that I don't know where the power line has gone, how the connections can be made. Anything new that you wish to do, you don't know how to integrate this into the existing system. So this is a very important aspect that I am very glad that this workshop, this week and this session especially has addressed. I wish, and I would tell Mr. Riji also about this, that there should be recommendations coming from this. Because in India, in fact many other countries, we are used to working in silos. And this kind of integration is required, the initiative from the top levels. And for that, it would be a very good thing if this body, if this workshop and this ISGF can make some recommendations to these organizations, and probably then they will sit together, sit on a table and come out with recommendations for this physical as well as this digital integrations. With this, thank you very much, and thank you all for being here and listening to all the panelists, and I hope that everybody, at least I have, benefited from whatever is being said and discussed here. Thank you.
Thank you so very much to everyone. And my thanks to Asima, who coordinated and put the nice session, and dear friend Reji Pillai, who is the anchor behind all this water, bringing water into other utilities. And thank you very much.
I would request our Executive Director, Ms. Reena Suri, to hand over the token of appreciation to all our esteemed panelists here. And then after that, a group photograph, please. Yeah, to our chair, Mr. DD Verma. Please. Huge round of applause for Mr. DD Verma for chairing the session so well. Yeah, Mr. Ajay Pradhan. Thank you, Mr. Pradhan, for moderating this session so well. Mr. Pandey. Thank you, Mr. Pandey. Mr. Kamal Verma. Mr. Anshumali Bhusan. Tania Sole. Yeah. Mr. Kunal Gupta. Thank you everyone once again. We'll have a group photograph.